My family invented tater tots. That's my big issue. I think one of the most widely misunderstood parts of the tater tot story, everybody thinks it's an accident. Every article that I read about tater tots and their history includes a sentence, something to the effect, the tater tot was an accident. And that is a myth. That is far from the truth. It was an intentional design to try to improve a waste product. I don't want any credit for myself, but I do want to tell the untold story of how tater tots were originally made.
A fourth-generation Idahoan, Leslie Gregg's story began in Idaho Falls, shaped by faith, family, and football.
My name is Leslie Grigg. I am a fourth-generation Idahoan. I'm from Idaho Falls, Idaho. I was born in 1952, the year that Ore-Ida was founded. Faith and spirituality were a big part of our family. We attended church as a family. We read scriptures as a family. I have a deep and abiding conviction that I am a child of God. And I think that having that foundation as an individual is really essential to the type of person I am today. And I think that those of us who have that grounded foundation have a tendency to have a more abundant life because we have a sense of right and wrong. We know we're grounded in our faith, and I think that's very important in achieving success, and not only achieving success, but being a good leader. I just loved when I started playing tackle football in the 4th grade, and that kind of became my favorite sport. I attended a lot of parties. I was on the football team. I qualified as a all-state honorable mention football. 10th grade, I was part of a mile relay team at Highland High School, and our mile relay team won 3rd place at the state track meet. I've always been very proud of that accomplishment. And yeah, I felt like I tried to be in the popular crowd.
Before boardrooms and brokerage firms, Leslie was stocking vending machines and learning the rhythm of responsibility.
My father was hired in 1959 by Ore-Ida to be the cost accountant, and then he became the office manager and the controller for that plant in Bury, Idaho, and they needed some vending machines to feed the employees. My mother and I were the vending machine caretakers, so every 4 o'clock every day we would drive out to the Bury plant and we would stock the vending machine. So that became my first experience with my Ore-Ida history. The mission in Germany was a defining moment also in my life. As missionaries, we were dedicated to sharing the gospel message that we as LDS people believe in, giving people an opportunity to decide if our message was helping them to improve on their lives. So we would usually get up, we would spend time studying, planning our days, planning our activities. Then we would be out serving the community, inviting people to listen to our message. And that was the day-to-day process. I'd never served in the military. I kept skirting the military through a number of areas. And in 1973, I came home from my LDS mission in Germany, expecting to be drafted or at least to go to the military. and they discontinued the draft, so I decided to choose a different path. I met my wife in 1974 and BYU, where I was a student, and then we were married in 1975. At BYU, I was introduced to a gentleman. He was a developer in the area, land developer, and he invited us to attend training classes on time management, on personal development. He taught us a little bit about the stock market and land development. And in exchange for this, we were his gophers trying to help set up appointments and make phone calls for him. And that was another lead-in to my desire to become a stockbroker with E.F. Hutton & Company.
Driven by a dream to be an entrepreneur, Leslie found his footing not in storefronts, but on Wall Street.
I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I really didn't know how to go about that. I thought about it a lot. I talked to a lot of people, and the end result of that was I was given an opportunity to join E.F. Hutton as a stockbroker. And I thought that was really cool. I'd always been fascinated with the market after having watched the Ore-Ida experience as a youth. My dad was involved with money as a CPA, and I was fascinated with finance. So I became a stockbroker with E.F. Hutton. I spent 2 years with them in Provo, then moved to Idaho Falls, Idaho, where I joined Merrill Lynch, and then spent the next 43 years with Merrill Lynch. One of the things I've learned about in life as a financial advisor, our judgment is only as good as our information. And I have learned that making decisions, both financial decisions and life's decisions, there are times when the information is so good that the decision is what I call a no-brainer decision. Most important inspiration was my great uncle Nephi and his success as a business person and his success as a civic person, his success as a family person. I idolized him, and I wanted to be like him. I think that's what helped me to succeed in my career as a financial advisor and helped me to succeed as my career as a father.
In the forgotten corners of food processing, Leslie found a symbol for change, the Holy Board.
All of my life, I wondered, why are there no tater tot festivals anywhere in the country? Why is nobody elevating our tater tot legacy to be something like Ronald McDonald Cherries, as an example? And this just has been a thing on my mind for a lot of years. And my cousin and I decided in 2020 that it was time for us to step up. And we recognized that the Holy Board was being left out of the American story. And we thought that was it was time to change that paradigm. The Holy Board is a piece of plywood that's about 8 by 18 inches. It's 1-inch plywood. It has about 12 1-inch holes drilled in it and about 20 3/4-inch holes drilled in it. It is the piece of plywood that originally formed tater tots and gave tater tots both their form and their structure. It was developed in 1953 when Nephi and Goldwyn were trying to develop a more productive product out of potato waste. So somebody came up with the idea of mixing the potatoes in a slurry. And then somebody else said, well, we need to form this. So they created this Holy Board, is what gave tater tots their form and their structure. We really just wanted the Holy Board to be part of some sort of a public display. We thought that being hidden on a wall in Ontario was the wrong decision. We felt like it needed to be on public display somewhere in some museum. As we began to work through this process, I realized that not only did it need to be in a museum, but it also had an opportunity to be much more than that. I've been involved for most of my professional career, 38 years. I've been involved with an organization called the National Exchange Club. The National Exchange Club in 1978 adopted child abuse prevention as their national program of service. And that was one of the reasons why I joined the Exchange Club. Was I wanted to be involved with child abuse prevention as my public service. And once I realized that I could actually change the world by connecting tater tots with child abuse prevention, that became a no-brainer to me. We brainstormed for several weeks as to how we would, my cousin Steve and I, Steve Grigg, he's the youngest son of Nephi Grigg. He and I have been working this project together from the beginning. We discussed a lot of that, and a friend of mine by the name of CJ Scarlett, we were sort of kicking around that idea, and she suggested to me, Protect Your Tots was a great brand name, and it just sounded great. It sounded like it was something that we could really find an audience for. And so that's kind of how that happened, through just brainstorming and sharing ideas, collaborating with each other. And so that has given birth to where I am today, and my mission to change the world and to change the history of food processing.
Behind every mission is a maze, and Leslie Grigg didn't stop until he found the right doors to open.
The biggest risks we faced, we felt like we couldn't go forward without trademark sanctions, trademark endorsements. We first approached Kraft Heinz in 2020. We had about a 30-minute conversation with Kraft Heinz national sales manager. And what we later discovered, we spent the next 2 or so years trying to re-engage somebody at Kraft Heinz in a discussion about our goals. What we didn't know at that time was that Kraft Heinz was in the process of trying to make a decision about what to do with the Ore-Ida brand. Their decision, which was announced in January or February of 2022, was that they were going to then sell that brand production rights to Simplot. So it took about 9 months for that deal to close, and then about 3 months later is when we contacted Simplot with the vision of what we wanted to do. And it was about a 1-week time frame between our inquiry with Simplot and when we had a deal put together. We overcame roadblocks through effort on the part of calling people, reading through the social media aspects, and sharing my story. I think sharing the story is the biggest part, because there's always going to be, if you share your story with enough people, you're going to find somebody, some point, who is going to want to help you push that story. Then you pick up another person and another person, and then it just begins to grow.
In retirement, Leslie didn't slow down. He doubled down on legacy, purpose, and protection.
I didn't have the perspective I have today, and I really believe that in 10 to 15 years, this little foundation that's about 2 years old is going to be $1 million foundation. I have no doubt about it. First year, our financials were about $13,000 of donations. Our second year, our financials were almost $60,000 in donations. These are both in-kind and cash donations combined. And in our third year, we're already breaking $100,000 in donations of in-kind and donations in cash. And I began to see that my vision was to spend my retirement in building this legacy to the next level. And that has just been kind of a 3-year process. And it just continues to get more convincing as time moves forward, and as I find more opportunities to grow this whole concept of protecting your tots and helping tater tots become a symbol of child abuse prevention. It's just the desire for helping the child abuse prevention industry. A lot of good work that goes into that, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. In my community in Idaho Falls, I can identify today projects and other things that are needed in helping to improve the child abuse prevention efforts. And I could identify in today's world about $1.5 million to $2 million worth of needs that exist. It's just a constant process of trying to improve the programs that exist, collaborate with other people, find different ways to serve and address the needs of our families and our children. I don't want any credit for myself, but I do want to make sure that 50 years from now that people are identifying new ways to help eradicate the forces that are undermining the health of children and families. I'm Leslie Grigg, and I'm a legacy maker because I have spent my life, 70 some years, wondering why my legacy wasn't more involved in doing good in our communities. The most important lesson to take from my journey is to know that families are the most important element in our society, and we have to protect the family and all of the aspects of the family life. And that's what I want that legacy to be remembered by.